up, insiders? Harrison and Whatley here from Actionable Insights for the March 2020 Price List Update Summary video as part of our Plus series. As you can see here, I have an Xactimate 28 estimate open on my left side with the March 20 price list added. This is for San Diego. And on the right side, I have the e-service center link. This is where Xact puts out the changes to the price list update summary. But we at Actionable Insights like to dive in to this wall of text here and provide some clarity and context to what new line items were added, why they were added, and how we are supposed to be using them in the property insurance industry when invoicing using Xactimate. So as you can see in the March 2020 price list here, we've got 7 new line items, and I've added them here in the left side. If you went back and watched our January 2020 price list update summary, you would have seen in January they added FEN post 8. And historically, they've had post 4, post 6. January, they added post 8. Now they've added post 10 and post 12. And all of the diameter for those line items are the same. It's 2 3/8. But they keep adding new line items for higher fences. And all I can think about is potentially the policyholders of America want more privacy, aka higher fences, therefore that they need to create new line items for the higher fence posts accordingly. But we now at least have an 8-foot line item, 7 to 8 foot, 10-foot high fence, and 12-foot high fence between fence post 8, fence post 10, fence post 12, thanks to January and March additions. We also have some brick mailboxes here that were added. SPE, MBXB, and MBXBA for an arched top. Obviously, this is more of a specialty line item. I can run up and down my street right now and I wouldn't find a brick mailbox anywhere near me, but they are obviously used in property or affected in property insurance claims, and therefore there is now a line item for brick mailboxes. Now, the one that I'm most excited about, that I'm excited to have you jump in here, Whatley, and analyze with me, there's 3 new line items that refer to bathtub. Bathtub detach only, bathtub detach only after hours, and bathtub reset here. Now, these are not detach and reset line items. They are separated for different activities, detach only, reset only. Whatley, can you talk about, I guess, the benefits of having these line items split up between detach only and reset only, and kind of the supporting events around them?
Sure. Over the last 24 months, the pricing department has made great strides to include more detach specific line items and more reset specific line items. We saw a lot of that, Q2, Q3, 2019 for appliances. And so they're going through category, trying to identify and then bifurcate these detach and reset line items. Historically, what they had asked us to do, and just drove me nuts, irrespective of where I sat on the claim at any given time, be it contractor or adjuster, the whole 0.5 calculation, if it was just a detach or just a reset, because I knew for several reasons that approach, if you had a bathtub detach and reset and you did the calculation 0.5, which historically that's what the additional line item advised the user to do.
Let me clarify before you keep going. Let me clarify. A detach and reset line item with a count of 0.5 to reflect detach only of that line item.
Right, and straight away, that's what the additional line item told the user to do, right? So if you are just detaching, then apply a calculation of 0.5. Okay, great. So if you're a mitigation contractor, boy, you're happy because I think you're getting overly compensated for that particular function. If you're a repair-only contractor, my goodness, you're getting shorted here. It's pretty evident that whether it's a sink or a bathtub or a toilet, there's going to be more labor associated with installing it than removing it. Okay.
Not only labor, but yeah, talk about the liability associated.
I was just going to get it. That's the 2, right?
Yeah.
The 2 is the warranty risk. Several times in my career, we installed bathtubs, and frankly, for whatever reason, the supply line wasn't connected, the drain assembly wasn't, connected optimally, and they leaked, right? And that cost me tens of thousands of dollars to resolve when we delivered your home, policyholder, and then boom. And that happens to repair contractors, restorers each and every day. It just happened a few minutes ago. I mean, statistically speaking, right? Warranty risk is a very real thing. And then what would happen to us as well is 8 months down the road, something would happen, or 18 months down the road. We'd be out of our workmanship warranty according to the state, but we still did the right thing by our policyholder, and we'd go back out there and fix it, and it'd be fantastic cost to us. So it's easy to forget as an adjuster, especially a newer adjuster, like warranty risk, but warranty risk to a restorer is very real. And so I always took issue with that approach to the calculation of 0.5 because I knew it was overcompensating the MIT side of the claim, and then it was undercompensating the repair side of the claim. And you can see that notion reflected here. If you look at the deltas in pricing, the pricing department is essentially affording you 1/3 of the value to detach it, right? And then full value to reset it. So that is built up there in the particular unit pricing. If we could, let's go to WTR TUBD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Come
then
to the unit
hit the I
price.
there. Yeah.
Open up the information to take a look.
Go to the assembly information. Something I want to note that's interesting, commonly overlooked, misunderstood, is that the pricing department will have a WTR category, and often we ask, like, okay, so what trade is that associated with? And people will say WTR, but no, there's a lot more categories. There's some 95 categories, and there's only maybe 60 trades. So we don't have a category for every trade. So this WTR rolls up to CLN-R, which a lot of us know to be essentially, your water tech. That's how it's typically applied, although it's applied more broadly to include in the CPS, the contents CON ecosystem as well. But not in every case, but in some unique cases. All right, so CLN-R, that's our trade code. Great. Here's what's really interesting about this. The supporting events, so a plumbing-centric line items within the WTR category are going to often have a supporting event of PLM. And so that supporting event is more attractive for a restorer than, say, the supporting event associated with CLN-R. So it takes more time, effort, planning. There's more inefficiency associated with a plumber than when compared to a water tech and running a water crew. And so one would think that the CLN-R supporting event would always be CLN-R, but that's actually not true. That's not the way these line items are created. So there's a systemic patterning. If it's a plumbing-centric line item, then your supporting event's going to be PLM. So then that creates a larger delta between your direct yield and your yield. So if you could mouse over to the direct yield of 0.74, so what's that essentially saying? So without any efficiency applied, your water tech is going to be able to detach 3/4 of a bathtub per hour. But when the inefficiency from the supporting event from the PLM category is applied, they're only able to detach half of a bathtub per hour. So you're going to recognize, you're going to recognize like a full 2 hours of labor to perform this function, which is how you arrive at a value of about $136 all in. So just interesting note to dissect, but I think there's nothing bad about having individual detached line items and then reset line items straight away. I think the only reason we have this many detach and reset line items is you got to think back 15 years ago, Harrison, where when you were estimating and adjusting, you wouldn't typically separate mitigation from repair. Okay, it was all in one estimate. And so be it that as it may, there wasn't necessarily the need to have the separate detach and reset line item. Is actually more efficient to include all those ampersand DNR line items. And it's one of the reasons why the activity code is to this day, it defaults to ampersand, right? Detach and reset, which you and I train to resolve, and now it's the default. We train to it should be the plus symbol because
resolve meaning change your default profile settings so that the natural activity code is not ampersand, but instead, if you're a repair estimator, make it plus. If you're a mitigation estimator invoicer, make it
still
minus.
Be plus. No, it'd still be plus.
Plus, yeah, that's fair.
For both sides, it's plus plus. So anyhow, you'd go into your profile settings and so on. I think you probably made an exact hack video for that. But you have to understand like the history of it to appreciate how we got here. But with this current, like we're not paying 10 and 10 here, and we're paying 10 and 10 here, it makes more sense to have separate detach and reset line items. So I appreciate what the pricing department has done over the last 24 months to include probably, I don't know, over 100 specific detach line items, specific reset line items. I think that's been quite a helpful move.
So those are the 7 new line items that came up in the Xactimate price list this month. As you can see here, I have 4 line items for February price list on the left and 4 line items for March on the right here. And in between them is the March 2020 price list update summary from Xact, so we can talk about this. In our February 2020 price list update summary video, we talked, there were no new line items, but we like focusing on changes to line items, especially when you have something that says modified labor component of yield or yield of assembly, of the replacement assembly. So what I've done here is I've added fence B wire. And let's come here and take a look at the information under unit price to get our idea of what exactly happened here. And from what I can tell, the fencing installer yield has been almost doubled. So in February it was 13, what is the unit here? 13 linear feet per hour of a what does it say, a barbed wire fence could be installed. And now they're saying that 26 linear feet, almost double the productivity. Hence, if you can install twice as much in the same amount of time, knowing the inverse relationship between price and yield, right? If yield goes up, price is going to go down. So back in February for the San Diego price list, this was $9 per linear foot, 903. Now it is $547. It's not often that a price goes down in Xactimate, but this is an example of the Xactimate pricing department trying to reconcile the activities in the field with the yields and component buildups of the line items in their software. Do you have anything that you want to add to this idea here?
I mean, often there is systemic patterns that you can pick up of your UNI for different categories that they're working on, where we've seen over the last several months window line items, they're going up, right? They're making adjustments to windows such that the pricing is going up on windows. And fencing, even temporary fencing, the pricing has been suppressed on that for the last 6 months. So without commenting one way or the other, it's just patterns that you can pick up. I think they focus on various trades and they go, okay, well, let's reconcile those with the current realities of things. But I think as a restorer and as a staff adjuster, like fencing is just so immaterial. Maybe temporary fencing comes up, but fencing is so often fully depreciated. It's underwritten on an ACV basis. I just don't really think that this is going to impact our day-to-day in a material way.
That sounds about right. Coming down at the next line item, I saw that was a modified material component, and the component yield was this chain link fence. There's not a significant difference in the unit price here of $34.14 to $35.87 from February to March. So let me open up the unit price, this iBox. And when you look at these different component buildups from February to March, the component buildups themselves are the exact same. And almost every calculation is the same except for one, the concrete dry mix, post mix, 80-pound bag. And when you hit edit here on both of these to really look at the numbers, what it's saying is that in February that they were using about 8.89, what is that? What would the unit here be for this? Bags to accomplish this. Now they're only using 5.926. So the yield has actually gone down. It requires more material in order to perform this activity of replacing a chain link fence with post and top rail. So if something becomes more difficult or requires more material to complete, then inherently yield goes down, price goes up. So what's unique is that sometimes line items have a different kind of component buildup. Sometimes there's material only, sometimes there's labor only, and most often there's a combination of labor, materials, or possibly even equipment involved in that line item. Here, there was no major change except for in one particular mix. The feedback that they got is that it's taking more concrete, dry mix, post mix, 80-pound bags in order to complete this task. Therefore, reduce the yield, which increased the price slightly. So one tiny little material component change ended in a small delta in RCV, but a delta nonetheless, reflecting the reality there.
Obviously, well, you can usually track this stuff back to technology and how it's involved and how fencing is being installed. So when these line items were created and the loved ones were sitting around in 1993, And they're like, okay, so how are people digging fence posts? So historically, right, in the 80s, you were going through and you got a post hole digger and you're going to dig that hole only so deep. And given the nature of a post hole digger, if ever dug one, you have to make the diameter of the hole very expansive such that the post hole digger would even open up enough to hold the dirt and pull it out of the hole, as if to say you don't typically dig a hole that deep. What's happened with the addition of technology into the fencing ecosystem, any fencer worth their salt is using an auger, right? A gas-powered auger. And so they're able to drill straight down and drop this fencing in there, and such that it never changed the amount of concrete taking on water, and that really wasn't the calculation here. It was what technology around that, using an auger, digging deeper holes, is taking more concrete to fill these holes. We're probably building a little better fences nowadays, so on, and I can speculate that's how we arrived here.
Love it. Thank you for providing some of that context and history around how the technology impacts the actual operations, and then how the invoicing for those operations has to be changed accordingly as well. Let's jump down to the next one here. Fen mesh was another line item I saw that had a modified labor component yield. Specifically, if we're going into the unit price to understand a little bit better, you'll see here the fencing installer yield going from 13 to 17. So that they're saying in order to install this mesh fence, the welded wire mesh fence, that it's maybe based on technology, but certainly based on reality, that people are more productive on site in installing this. Instead of historically installing 13 linear foot per hour, now they can install 17 linear feet per hour. And when there's an increase in yield, there is a slight decrease in that price. So you can see from January to February, it moved from 10.11 per unit price to 8.45, based on the additional 4 linear feet of productivity of the workers performing this activity. Last thing I want to address here, we talked about it in the February video a lot. There were changes of labor minimums for specialty trades from 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Whatley, you were the one mentioning, for specialized trades in this industry, I'm getting a 3-hour minimum anytime somebody's coming to my house, no matter what. That seems to be more reasonable and customary.
Well, let's clarify what you mean when you say I'm getting. As you and I, as property owners, if we have some subcontractor or specialty contractor come out to our house, like, they're not billing us for 2 hours, right? They're billing us for 3 hours straight up and then some, right? That's just all you see. And sometimes that includes some degree of drive time or whatever else. But without getting and unpacking all that, it just seems as though the trades have adopted a 3-hour labor minimum. If you call any of the specialty trades, right, that's what they're going to bill you for, one way or the other. So the pricing department is doing their best to observe that reality that's emerged within the specialty trades, and that's certainly no different here with the window reglazing and repair labor minimum. I think there's no scenario where you and I can call somebody out to go reglaze a window for us, and they're going to bill us for 2.5 hours of labor. That's really unlikely.
Yeah, so nice to see these changes reflected in the labor minimums for these kinds of specialty trades. Lastly, there are no major updates when it comes to material components added or deleted, or even miscellaneous changes for this one. So it's nice to have 7 new line items as part of the March 20 update. And then some yield changes that we discussed and highlighted that are important or noteworthy. But yeah, this has been the March 2020 Price List Update Summary video. Hope you've enjoyed. Please, if you could, like, share, subscribe, whatever platform we're on, you're seeing this on. This is what Actionable Insights is here to do. We enjoyed discussing these kinds of additions to the Xactimate price list, being a steward of this price list, and making sure that property insurance professionals, whether you're a restorer or adjuster, have a good idea of what line items came out, what they're meant to be used for, and how should I be applying them in the field. So, Whatley, thanks for jumping on this call with me. Appreciate it. And we will see you guys for the April one soon. Thank you.
Be good.